This morning, the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, APRM, has launched its bold vision for decentralizing governance and strategic reforms in Sierra Leone. This happened at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Conference Hall in Freetown. It was in a bid to promote good governance, democracy and socio-economic development across the country. It was themed Strengthening Community-Led Governance through Decentralization. And to chat this forward, the studio will be joined by Mohammed Sheshu Sharif. He is Executive Secretary, Africa Peer Review Mechanism, APRM for short. Good morning, and it's a pleasure having you.
Thank you
in our
very
studio this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Indeed. Please kindly give us an overview, if you like, about this whole project.
Yeah, thank you very much. So the African Peer Review Mechanism came around, it was established around 2003 by African leaders out of the realization that there should be a mechanism, an opportunity where African leaders can discuss frankly, do peer review, learn from one another, and also ensure that they implement best practices that they have learned from one another. So established by key founding fathers such as our President Ahmad Tijan Kaba, may he so rest in peace, President Thabo Mbeki, Kagame, Obasanjo, Ellen Johnson, several others. They kind of came together, they hashed that vision, and the APRM was established. But one of the cardinal points for any country that you accede to the APRM principle is that you should have a secretariat, or you should have some kind of essential national structures that include the APRM focal point, and the focal point should be equivalent to either a minister or somebody who would have direct access to the president. We have the National Governing Council. The National Governing Council is like an equivalent to a board for certain institutions. And we have the National Secretariat that is charged with the responsibility, the mandate to provide technical and logistical support to the two other structures that include the National Governing Council as well as the APRM focal point. So Sierra Leone became a member around 2000, and the first review process was conducted in Sierra Leone around 2012. 2012, a first review process was conducted. But by law, as I said, you cannot have a review process if you do not have a national structure, such as the NGC, the focal point, and the National Secretariat that will coordinate the conduct of that review process. So that's how the APRM kind of was established.
Would you say all of these, set criteria have been met in any way?
Come again, please.
All of these criteria, setting your, should I say, organogram?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, all of the national structures have been established, more than a decade ago or plus. So we have had the APRM focal point, and as I said, the previous ministers of public administration, political affairs generally, have been the focal point, and currently the focal point is Honorable Minister Amara Kalon. We have got the National Governing Council that is headed by Ambassador Sule Darami as the chair, and then with me as the head of the Secretariat, alongside my competent colleagues that are working to provide technical and administrative support to the other structures.
Let's talk about your ambitious plan to decentralize governance.
Yeah, so upon assuming office, by the way, I'm like 1 year plus old in office, assumed office in October. And when I came again, I'm coming from that world where they kind of look at things proactively. I used to work as one of the political advisors at the United States Embassy. So even before assuming we are having an ambassador, we have already indicated his 30 years, his 30 days, 60 days, and 100 days achievements. So that was the same mentality that I kind of took over office with. So I had 30 days action plans, 60 days action plans, and 100 days. Each of these periods, we ensure that we produce a report to inform the public about the achievements we have made and the challenges so far that we have encountered. So the strategic document which you just mentioned is also part of those long-term efforts, because assume in office, as the Secretariat was established around 2012, but what has been put in place to ensure that the Secretariat, carries out its mandate effectively without any sort of digression. There was no strategic document since 2012. But again, I was part of the development of the integrated country strategy at the United States Embassy. So I knew that strategic documents are always very essential to ensure they keep any institution so far on track. So it's on that basis we established the strategic. As a matter of fact, because of maybe logistical constraints and challenges, this is a summary achievement of the APRM National Secretariat, a one-year report.
Okay.
And again, it is the very first time the Secretariat is producing an annual report.
Can you briefly take us through what some of these achievements are?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be happy to do that. So some of the achievements, as I said, the very first thing that anybody, if you are a technocrat, when you assume office, you have to do an institutional assessment. You do an institutional assessment, try to understand what is the current status, the capacity, the strength, and the weaknesses of those institutions, of the institution that you're heading. I did that, and realizing that there was a capacity gap, I immediately, not knowledge-wise, but also staff didn't have the requisite resources, including computers, including access to internet, including having opportunity to also interface with their like-minded. So within 60 days, I ensured each and every staff at the Secretariat, they all have access to computer. And that includes a janitor, the cleaner. The reason is because we are empowering him. I do not want him to continue being a cleaner. I want to build his capacity so that he could be, and again, he's a degree holder. That is one. The second thing we also did, I think one of the very first assignments I encountered is that of the launching, the coordination and launch of the strategy, the unconstitutional change of government report, which was launched as the Bintimani. It was a remarkable success wherein we coordinated the arrival of heads of state, the arrival of APRM Continental, eminent persons, as well as it was launched by no less a person, but the chief minister. So we, at the Secretariat, we also also ensure that the Secretariat is visible. And visibility is not only to be seen, but to be understood and heard. So what we did what is called audience analysis. The categories of people we engage, we interact with. For instance, the way you talk to community people, you don't talk like that to the students. Okay, how do we ensure we reach out to everybody? The Secretariat is really a skeleton, a very small side, a 10 to 15 staff. How can we reach out to the length and breadth of this country? First, we established district committees. I said, no, we have to have district committees. So they are actually our elements. Should we want to undertake any activity, they will be there on the ground representing APRM and also propagating the ideas of APRM. As if that was not enough, we said it's important for us to have regional committees. So we created regional committees. So the district committees report to the regional committees. The regional committee is also working to support the Secretariat, while the Secretariat support the other structures. For the first time again, we have produced what is called a service charter. There was never anything like a service charter. How can you inform the public that this is what you're doing, how you do it, why you do it, what is the result, and how that could affect the lives of the citizens? We developed a service charter. But most importantly also, there was never anything like website. For instance, when I was working for U.S. Embassy, anytime we have people from ministries, department, agencies, and they visit us, we are mindful of the fact that maybe you have got some kind of a briefcase institution, and that includes civil society. They can come to you, tell you that we are doing this ABCZ. How can you ensure? So when you're talking to me, maybe you're walking, you're playing with your phone now to see how API, whether we are visible on the net. We have created a user-friendly website, and again, a very good one that can be translated into 10 international languages. For instance, the moment you click Arabic, everything about the website is going to turn into Arabic. French, everything is going to Chinese, everything. So we did that because It's also part of our effort to ensure regional integration, regional collaborations. Sierra Leone, of course, we're an English-speaking community, but there are French-speaking countries that are also part of APRM. How can we ensure that they understand clearly some of the things that APRM does in Sierra Leone? So we established the NGC. Also, as by way of ensuring visibility, we conduct series of public lectures in colleges and universities. Ajala University, Eastern Technical University, University of Makeni, and Espaikroma University. All of this we conduct public lectures. Public lectures on the APRM Agenda 2063. Also, for the first time perhaps, we are erecting billboards for the citizens to understand. And what we did deliberately, because the president is the immediate past president, we included him on the billboard. But those founding fathers, those people who kind of created, who brought about the idea of establishing a mechanism such as the APRM, they are the one that we kind of honored. The persons like Thabo Mbeki, Olusegun Obasanjo, Ellen Johnson, Tijan Kaba. These are the people. So these are some of the achievements.
Now you're turning your focus to strengthening community-led governance through decentralization. In practice, what does that mean?
So first, you understand that decentralization, if you read the Truth and Reconciliations Commission report, it tells you that one of the things or the incubating factors of the rebel war is that of centralization or centralized system of government. It has been decentralization. An act was passed in 2004, I think with the current Secretary to President being the first coordinator or director of the decentralization. I mean, significant effort has been made. I mean, they have been able to ensure councils, they devolve functions, first to ensure that citizens, there is political participation through grassroots, ensuring empowering grassroots communities, people voting for their leaders at community level, and those leaders championing development processes at community level. Much has been done, but is it enough? The answer, we are not yet there. It does not mean that we have not, much has not been done. We have done a whole lot. Stakeholders, not only APRM, not only Decentralization Secretariat, but even yourself, the media, the civil society, every facet of society has contributed in one way or the other to the strengthening and consolidations of democratic good governance across the country, and that includes decentralization. So it is also a way of us, APRM, implementing the national programs of action. Remember, we have conducted what is called a targeted review on unconstitutional change of government. One of the recommendations is to ensure that there should be, decentralization services, councils, functions are devolved to the councils. What are we going to do? Are we only going to, because it has been recommended and we forget about it? We want to ignite discussions around it. We want to ensure we bring it to the attention of stakeholders that this recommendation was made in the UCG report, and we want you to take a keen look at it. So that is actually the rationale behind the strengthening of community-led governance, as you saw yesterday, which we launched.
What particular time frames are you looking at, and as to when people should start asking you questions if these things are not delivered? I know it's a continual process, but one might say fixing timelines to what you do is quite essential for growth.
I agree with you. Again, that is subject to the understanding of the individual. Okay, you can ask me, if you go to communities, they ask you because that is actually what they want to see. If you are expert on governance, you understand that it's a process, it takes time. If you're a journalist or civil society, you say, you know what? For instance, even assuming office, I cannot just assume office and you start, but if somebody doesn't know, the person is going to ask you, what have you done? What have you achieved? Except you clarify to that individual, hey, I am barely one or 2 days old in office. So there is actually, a review, anytime the APRM conducted a review process, within 2, 3 years, and not more than 4 years, one would make a follow-up to see how best that review process, that review recommendation is being accommodated into the national development plans of actions. And one way we do that is by coordinations and collaborations with critical state institutions. But beyond that, how do we measure whether those things, those recommendations have been implemented? There is what is called self-assessment and progress report. When we do self-assessment, it's like cross-examining ourselves, cross-examining our report. And we do also progress report. It's also an opportunity where we can go to communities, engage with stakeholders, whether those things so far that they talked about years back, they have achieved it, or what is the situation. So if it happens the situation has improved, then we will tap ourselves on the back. If situation has not improved, then we will come to the duty bearers, institutions that we think are capable of delivering on some of the recommendations that have been made.
You've outlined a broad governance reform vision, you know, when you've talked about the decentralization. What top three sectors are you aiming to ensure that decentralization actually takes place within in Sierra Leone?
Okay, first, the overall goal of decentralization is for communities, is to ensure political participation, popular participation, but also to ensure that citizens take charge of their own destiny, but also to ensure that development is reached to the doorstep of the people and that the government caters for and of the people, that kind of thing. So there are lots and lots of ways we are looking. Again, the Secretariat does not in any way have the mandate to ensure the implementation of those recommendations. What we will do, we will make a follow-up and also ignite discussions around it, inform, for instance, Ministry of Local Government. And that is the reason we invited the Deputy Minister of Local Government, who made a very brilliant statement and serious commitment on the part of the government in ensuring that decentralization is strengthened. We also invited the Deputy Minister of Public Administration, and I think he also made some kind of very powerful statement committing the country. They were both committed to ensuring that services are delivered, communities are engaged, and as well as citizens are brought on board to ensure there is a grassroots political support, or popular movements to ensuring the consolidations of democratic good governance.
And, you know, decentralization is mainly the work of the Ministry of Local Government. How do you work in hand with it?
So our mandate, we do not kind of work in silos. We don't work only with one entity. We work with almost every stakeholder because our recommendations are review reports. Be it targeted review, health governance, or anything. They hinges on critical state institutions. For instance, National Commission for Democracy. There are also recommendations that they should be strengthened, and as well as to be able to strengthen democratic good governance. Well, we are working collaboratively with them, local government, Ministry of Local Government, because there was a particular, and again, these recommendations, we will make an assessment. Within the limited resources that we have, how do we ensure we even ignite discussions around it? Some projects are really ambitious. They can be achieved. They can be achieved, but only with a huge resources. Some can be achieved with essential importance, but with minimal resources. So we kind of take a look at our resources and see how best we will be able to create discussions around it. But in terms of coordination, collaboration with other state actors, particularly democratic and governance institution, that's very cordial. And we continue to do that because only when we have that strong synergies, that strong relationship with these institutions, that we can even have the courage to confront them, point to them some of the things that are kind of accommodated, that are included in our reports.
Did you also take into consideration maybe the finances required in embarking on decentralization?
Absolutely.
Oftentimes when it comes to decentralization, we see, yes, for the functions and the authority might be decentralized, but financing is also a big issue.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Finances, it cut across not only in the sector of decentralizations, but almost all sectors of society. Yes, we are very mindful because even, as head of an institution, the same way I feel, I think I can assume for other institutions that they are also having some kind of, generally there are kind of a resource scarcity or kind of a not living in resource plenty as in United States and some other countries. But even within your organization, you have a task to undertake. And you ask yourself, which of the tasks that is difficult to achieve with high risks, which of the tasks that you can achieve that has very good, output or results. So it's all about prioritization. We are mindful of the fact that there are challenges, but what we will do is to inform stakeholders that there is the need for you to strengthen, for instance, decentralizations and local government, and that include devolutions, devolve certain functions to councils, or all the functions that are indicated in the 2004 Local Government Act, devolve them.
Is there any particular function you're looking at?
To the very best of my knowledge,
within councils?
There we are up to 40 plus functions, such as people taking charge of community schools, taking charge of hospitals or healthcare, taking charge of cleaning, sanitation, taking charge of water resources or water management, or even the management of natural resources. So all of these, as I said, that is not actually our mandate. We are not in any position to dictate to them what they should do, how they should do. We only want to...
Even though you do not dictate, is there any recommendation you had put forward to further guide some of these sectors or the ministries to say, this is what we've picked up in this area that you have to improve on or work on for decentralization?
So interestingly, the UCG report made a very broad recommendations. Okay. It made a very broad recommendation calling for the strengthening of local councils, strengthening of community, led governance, that kind of thing. So the Ministry of Local Government, the Decentralization Secretariat, I think they know better than us. So it is also a matter of us collaborating, and they understand, functions that have been devolved, those that have not yet been devolved, that I cannot tell you clearly, but I'm sure essential functions, more than 40 to 52 functions have been devolved to councils. I cannot clearly tell you what are some of these functions, but I know, reading through newspapers and also kind of interfacing with communities as well as council authorities, we are very aware, such as revenue, local resource mobilization. This is no longer in the hands of the central government. Okay, community supporting, like where you've had, if you grow up in a rural area, we hear certain names of schools such as DEC, that is District Community, District Educational Committee, kind of. These functions have been devolved. Significantly essential functions have been devolved, but also it's a wake-up call, engaging with stakeholders. That includes the Ministry of Local Government and Decentralization Secretariat.
Sierra Leone is a highly centralized state. Much of our key parastatals, and MDs are clustered in the capital city, and makes administration quite difficult at times. And also even, wastes state resources, for movement from the city to the provincial areas. Things like, for instance, someone should be able to renew their licenses wherever they are, contact the council for essential services where they are, irrespective of the distance. But how crucial would you say, decentralization is at this time in Sierra Leone moving forward?
Yeah, so first, maybe we'll have to make few corrections. When you see that Sierra Leone is highly centralized, Sierra Leone is not highly centralized.
Most of our MDs are just crammed there. It's you building.
It's a process. Democracy.
You think
itself,
so? We've been talking about this since 2004.
I agree with you. Democracy itself is a process. Maybe much. What you actually want to see happening has not happened. But if you take a look at where we are coming from, do you ever have councils, local councils or district councils? We are dissolved more than 20, 30 years during the one-party state. That is the period that you can talk about Sierra Leone being highly centralized. But now you have got regional offices. Don't you have human rights commissions spread right across the country, democratic institutions?
The question is how essential.
I'm coming there. Also, for instance, the license you talked about. SLRA, you can find them in McKinney, you can find them in Kenema, you can find them in Bo, you can find them at several other places. I just renewed my license. You know what? Even when I am in Freetown, living in Freetown, but because I didn't have maybe the patience to go to SLRA again because of the traffic, I just asked a brother in McKinney, I say, hey, I want you to help me renew my license. They said, okay, send your money. He's in McKinney. He's working for SLR. It was just 2-3 days, and I got my license. So
and that's why I asked, how crucial do you think decentralization is now for governance?
To a very large extent, if you could kind of grade it between 1 to 10, you could say it's around 6-7, largely. 6-7, yes. In terms of 1, there was no structure, there was no legal instrument. All of this has been established. Again, to some extent, even the willingness on the part of political leaders during those days. I mean, that is even the reason that contributed to the dissolution of decentralization or local councils. But again, there is now strong political will. If you listen to the deputy...
How strong? Because, you know, the government has its own 5 big agendas, you know, which is focusing on at the moment.
I agree with you. And the government is not going to do it in isolation. The government is going to do it alongside these local councils. In the first place, these councils are agents to implement some of these big 5 changes that the government has talked about. So I can assure you, based on, again, what I am saying again, being like somebody who studied political science, and again having worked for governance and democratic institutions for quite some time, but also having listened to the Deputy Minister of Local Government yesterday, I can assure you that indeed we are not yet there, because human wants are insatiable. We actually want to be looked like maybe countries like New York. When they talk about New York City Council, they talk about the English people. We are not yet there, because again, even there are differences in terms of resources availability. But yes, can you make use of the local resources, the low-hanging fruit that you have? The low-hanging fruit to ensure that you devolve functions. Yes, councils functions have been devolved. And again, I am not in any way the spokesperson for the Ministry of Local Government or Decentralization Secretariat. Maybe they will be in better position to talk about that. I will talk about strictly on APRM.
Right, as we round off, what are your passing, courtesies to particularly government or state functionaries to buy in on your ideology?
Yeah, so yeah, even though the discussion is, largely around decentralization, but also as I made mention initially, this is the very first time the APRM has produced a strategic document. We are counting on leaders, on authorities to also support the Secretariat towards ensuring the implementation of this strategic document. I'm very grateful for the support that stakeholders have given. The review process, the strategic document during when putting together, it was a kind of a rigorous consultations we had, and I'm very grateful to everybody from the highest to the humblest who contributed to making sure that these strategic documents becomes a reality. I'm very grateful and thankful to my staff, the Secretariat, my colleagues at the Secretariat. I think I'm actually the newest, but they have done every bit of things to ensuring that the Secretariat becomes what it is today, and I'm very grateful to them.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.